Good afternoon, people. Time for the Friday injury report. A little bit late on this video, I know, but had some things going on today. Couldn't quite cut a video earlier on, but we've got the final injury report going into Sunday's game, and it's a little bit concerning, but Pete has tried to soothe people's minds a little bit with some of his comments. So let's take a look here and try to translate what we can. Photo's a little bit blurry, but I'll walk you all through it in case you can't make it out on screen. Here's the rundown for the Seahawks side of things. We have one player who is out. It is Penny Hart. I don't know exactly what happened against the Saints, but he is not ready to come back. So we're down one depth receiver. Doubtful is Gabe Jackson with a knee/hip and Al Woods with a knee. So Gabe Jackson does obviously give way to Phil Haynes and Damian Lewis getting to be the starting guards, which is intriguing for sure. I don't mind that. I'd like them to be swapped where they are on the line, but I don't mind having the two young guys out there. But obviously Gabe Jackson was the starter. He was the one building camaraderie. He was the one building rapport with these guys. So not having him out there would be unfortunate, and it looks like we won't. Al Woods, doubtful, is a crushing blow. He's been probably our best player on defense by far so far this year. And I know that isn't saying much, but it is saying something. So Al Woods probably not going to play. We're probably going to see some shuffling on that defensive line. You may see LJ Collier get activated. You might see some more Miles Adams. And I think you're going to see more Brian Monet, which I'm not against because Brian Monet's the young guy. Brian Monet's the guy who could be here a little while. So him getting to be the full-time nose tackle for a game, we might learn something about him because Monet's played well before. He's had big games in his career as a Seahawk, actually. So probably no Al Woods, probably no Gabe Jackson. The questionable category is where things get a little bit tricky. Shelby Harris is questionable, but Carroll did say he thinks he's going to play. He did participate fully in practice, which is a good indicator. So it seems like Shelby Harris will play. Will he be able to play well? We don't know. Artie Burns is questionable with a groin injury. He did not practice, which tells me he probably won't play. D. Eskridge is questionable with an illness, but he practiced in full on Friday, so he's probably good. Marquise Goodwin questionable, but he practiced in full all 3 days this week, so it would be kind of surprising to me at this point if he doesn't go. And Joey Blunt, with limited participation in practice on Friday, today, is questionable as well. I guess he'll play, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference with how little he would play anyway. So the good news is it's not as bad as this makes it look, right? Because you got Shelby Harris, you've got all of our depth wide receivers. Like the only two receivers that aren't on this injury report in some way that are on the active roster routinely are Metcalf and Lockett. And Lockett did show up on the limited participation list on Thursday, so there was some concern there. Same with Derek Young, actually, by the way. So the fact that we've now gotten to Friday and we have some degree of confidence that every receiver except Penny Hart can play is good. Now, if we get to game day and Eskridge and Goodwin immediately tap out because their injury flares up, or, well, in the case of Eskridge's illness flares up and he can't go, it would be unfortunate because we're already being tested depth-wise with no Penny Hart. I wonder if we try to get Bo Melton or Cade Johnson on the active roster, that would probably be welcome. But it doesn't look like we need to, which is a relief. The primary loss ends up being Al Woods, maybe Gabe Jackson. I'm not that impressed with Gabe so far this year, but he is a starter. And while it looked dodgy during the week, if you take a look at how full these injury reports are throughout the week, it looks like it's actually not going to be that bad game day. So that's the Seahawks situation. Obviously, you don't like losing probably your best player on defense, but it is what it is. And it does provide an opportunity for some younger players who have a chance to be part of future great Seahawks teams, which is, at the end of the day, the thing that I always talk about, right? Like, the present is nice, but my mind is on the future. As for the Cardinals side of things, they're not doing stellar either in terms of their top key player availability. We know they're going to be missing two running backs. James Conner, their starting running back, is out. and Darrell Williams, one of their backup running backs, is also out. That leaves them with Eno Benjamin as their primary back. He's not necessarily a bad player, but he's also not necessarily a guy you want to be your featured back. Now, we haven't been able to stop the run against anybody yet this year, but this is a good opportunity to try to turn that narrative around. Obviously, when you're playing a player like a Kyler Murray at quarterback, it's a different challenge because what he can do with his legs gives you something extra to think about that other quarterbacks just plain don't. So that's going to make it a little bit harder, but we are facing a depleted Cardinals backfield. And Benjamin, I know he's, in terms of a per snap basis, played fairly well over his career, but he's not really a bell cow running back. So big advantage there. And look, this run defense needs to start doing something right because it's been pretty embarrassing through 5 games. Trayvon Mullen Jr. is out with a hamstring injury. Not one of their key cornerbacks, but somebody who played occasionally. And Matt Prater, their kicker, out, which, I mean, we see every week how significant missing your top kicker can be. I think it cost the Chiefs a game this year that they otherwise would have won, and it almost cost them another one. So no kicker, no Matt Prater equals the kicking game could be a little bit of a circus for the Cardinals on Sunday, so might be a few extra points here and there to poach. And as for the questionable list, I'm going to go ahead and move my head over so you guys can see a little bit better. I'm just going to coast on over here. We've got several linemen questionable and their top corner questionable. We got Max Garcia and Rodney Hudson on the questionable list. Rodney Hudson would obviously be big because he's their starting center, and their current center that they are using is not considered to be a good player at all, so that's big. You also have Rashard Lawrence, one of their depth defensive linemen, and Byron Murphy Jr., who's their probably overall top corner. He's a guy who bumps to nickel whenever they go to their nickel defense, but plays outside otherwise, so he's pretty consistently on the field for the Cardinals defense. And if you take a look at their practice designations, Rodney Hudson and Byron Murphy both limited in practice. So both those guys, actually Rodney Hudson in particular, barely practiced this week. Byron Murphy Jr. is a relatively new addition to the injury report, so I don't know if that's significant or not, but when you look at Hudson, who had 1 limited practice this whole week, there's a real chance he doesn't play. And having Murphy get added to the injury report on Friday, not a great sign for his availability. And if we have our receivers and they're missing their top cornerback, that's absolutely something we should be able to take advantage of. So significant injuries on both sides. Both teams have their own issues. And it's definitely going to be something that affects this game. So that's the injury report for this game. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you think is going to be out there. Carroll gave mostly optimistic prognoses earlier today concerning our questionable players, so that's going to be significant. We really need Shelby Harris out there to make an impact. He's the one guy on this defensive line who has historically been able to generate pressure by himself as a lineman. So we need that. We need that right now, no doubt, and we need our receiver depth so we don't end up like we did against the Saints, where we basically had 3 receivers on the roster after Hart went out. Okay, I'm going to see you guys later. Go Hawks. Should be on Twitch later tonight, probably doing Assassin's Creed. So hope to catch you all there.